Hey guys, how's it going? It's that nerd Ryan here. So I know it's later than last week, but that's 100% fine with me. Today we're going to be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Season 1, Episode 2. And just gotta say, really, really good episode. It's kind of getting into the meat of the show, which obviously we only have 6 episodes, so that's what's going to happen, is that we're going to be getting into that. So let's start talking about it. We're only going to be talking about maybe 20, 30 minutes. And if there's people that join on and have some discussion points or questions like that, they can go ahead and leave it in the chat and we'll discuss it. But first, I do want to warn people, if you're watching from behind like the date and or from after this is loaded, that this is a spoiler discussion. So you've been warned, spoilers and everything like that. So first thing that we're introduced with is John Walker in his, I think it was high school, I believe it was high school, locker room, where he revealed he was kind of like a football player and stuff like that. And then it's him going out. We meet his, basically his sidekick, which is Battlestar. I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. Hoyt, I think, was his last name or something like that. But yeah, he's actually, I had to Google his name, so I should be able to pull it up right now because I wanted to make sure that I didn't call him the wrong name on this. But gosh, Lamar Hoskins, that's his name. So yeah, we got to kind of get introduced to his sidekick and everything like that. And then he goes out and does an interview. And I was getting the feeling off of everything on that he was kind of, it does feel very fake. Almost, it feels like an actor replacing another actor for a film series or something like that. It does give off that feel of he's not rightfully supposed to be Captain America. And I do like that. He feels like the kind of like the new kid that tries to fit in with everybody else and everything like that. And like his, I want to say attributes, I guess I could say attributes, really prove that he's kind of a very good soldier, peak physical human and everything like that. And he did mention that he doesn't have any powers, but like the way they show him throwing the shield and everything, and like it's almost as if he mastered it. Now I do have a feeling that is faked. I kind of want to say it feels very fake, as in the fact that like, oh, you chose this really perfect human. And there's a line that he says later on in the episode, which I'll get to, which does feel like a very like propaganda-y sort of thing. But like everything that they were saying about him in the interview felt very much so like propaganda, where even showing the video where it looked, obviously in real life it was edited, but it looked heavily edited. And I mean, we've seen Steve throw the shield so many times in the movies and everything that it doesn't look edited, but this looked like it was like, okay, John, go and throw the shield and we'll make it go like vroom, 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 and then just make it look like you're reacting to catching it, sort of thing. And I mean, he does throw the shield perfectly later on in the episode, but it still felt very forced. And it felt forced talking about like, oh, you are the only person that won 3 Medal of Honors and blah, blah, like going on like that. It did feel kind of like false, because like even if it is true that he got all those Medals of Honors and everything, it still doesn't hold up to the work that Captain America has done in the MCU, if that makes any sense. next after that, we also see Bucky and Sam kind of watching the interview and everything and their reaction, and you could tell that they're both upset and everything about this. And there is a hint that John even feels like he doesn't feel like he deserves to do this. And I do feel that he is trying just to prove himself. I don't know if he's going to really, really end up being like John Walker in the comics, where he's like crazed and kind of insane, and definitely undeserving of the shield. But he seems like he's a nice guy, but he also seems like the kind of person that would be like a nice guy hiding what a terrible person he really is. And after that, we finally have our first meeting between Bucky and Sam. I do feel that if the show was longer, that we would probably wait a few more episodes for that, but it's nice to kind of see them go off each other. And I was thinking while watching it that it was like Odd Couple vibes, which was really kind of nice to kind of get another sitcom right after WandaVision. Of yeah, they obviously don't like each other, but at the same time they do respect each other, which does sound weird, but it's like they both have a mutual respect for each other, even though they don't really like each other that much, if that makes sense. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of just Bucky kind of yelling at Sam about giving away the shield and everything, and then them discussing what's going on. We get that scene that got released before it was the show was released, which was Bucky admitting that he's a Lord of the Rings fan. He pulled what I call is the biggest fan flex, which is, yeah, I read it when it came out in 1937. I know it better than you, sort of thing. I really liked that. That was pretty funny. And I like how they are together, and I hope that they kind of get to like a mutual friendship towards the end of the show, which I have a feeling it's a Disney show, it's a Marvel show, it's going to happen. But yeah, so then they end up going on the plane to head to, I think it was Munich, Germany, I believe, to basically go and try to figure out who these flag smashers are, which they only know of one super soldier right now. And they go and basically have another Odd Couple moment of them staring at each other and who's going to get up first, sort of thing. And then we have Sam jumping out, and then Bucky's like, "Oh, I don't need a parachute." And he falls on his ass. And that's the funniest part of the whole scene right there, is Bucky falling, and then Red Wing flies over, taking pictures and everything like that. And then they catch up. They see that there are 7 flag smashers and what they think is 1 hostage. And they both have, what I call it is, they both do have like their own kind of style, which is really nice to see. Of like, they're both very stealthy, but like Bucky's played off to be a little rusty compared to Sam when it comes to the whole thing, because we see Bucky sneak around and everything. All of a sudden, Sam appears right behind him, and then when Bucky's going to try to move, he knocks something over, and you hear the sort of thing. And it's like the fact that, yeah, he's kind of rusty at it, because one, he hasn't done a lot for really 2 years, when you think about 2.5, because Civil War happened 2 years before Infinity War, and then he had a half a year off, which I do want to correct myself from my last review of the episode, which is that technically they did say how long it's been, which was 6 months. Anyway, so back to that. They go after the trucks, and we get like what we've been always having in the trailer, which was the fight on top of the trucks. It turns out that there wasn't a hostage, and that there's 8 super soldiers. So I do want to bring up one thing that I'm thinking. So Bucky mentions that they're transporting vaccines. I think they're vaccines to the untrained eye, because there is something that brings it up later, or that kind of is a little questioning later, and there's like, why would they be stealing vaccines, obviously, to give to people that are less fortunate to have it, but that's something that didn't feel right to me. I think being that there's 8 super soldiers and the text message that we see later is the arms. Now, when you think about that, that's 2 semis full of super soldier serums. That's something that's very intimidating, that could basically start a whole army of super soldiers. And that does sound like something that a villainous group that they're kind of playing the flag smash to be right now could turn out to be. So I'm thinking that basically it's going to end up being super soldier serum. Anyway, so they start fighting and everything, and John and Hotchkiss show up. And again, it feels like it's trying to represent the fight with Ultron on Age of Ultron on the semis, with him showing up like that. And before I do continue, I do have to say rest in peace, Red Wing. Red Wing is dead as of right now. But yeah, he shows up to kind of help them out, but also kind of be the post. Which what I did find interesting about that is we are mentioned earlier that the Flag Smashers are basically just in Europe right now. And also that they said last episode that John is America's hero, not the world's hero. It's interesting that the American hero shows up in Europe to face these Flag Smashers. When honestly, as of right now, they're not truly a threat to America that we know about. So I think they are trying to use situations like this to kind of bolster up John's look of being the new Captain America. Now, the fight continues on and everything, and we get the whole trailer scene of Bucky almost falling off the ship and falling off the semi, and Sam saving him and everything. And then we get to see basically Hotchkiss and I keep saying Hotchkiss. I want to make sure I keep saying it right, because new character, hard to learn. Hoskins. Lamar. Okay, so Lamar. So we see Lamar and John fighting the Flag Smashers, and we see something that we haven't seen Captain America do since the first Avenger, which was Captain America shooting someone. Again, I know it's not Steve Rogers shooting someone, but something that like Captain America only did once in the first movie, and it was because it was during a war. Shoot someone. Obviously, it was to save Lamar. It was shooting in self-defense sort of thing. But still, I feel that if it was Steve saving either Bucky or saving Sam, it would be throw the shield, hit the guard in the head, take it back, which is obviously kind of a red flag right away that Captain America, or this Captain America, is not as good as the original. And then after that, it cuts back to them kind of fighting again and everything, and Lamar gets thrown off the truck, and this is where we see John throw the shield, and then he does something something happens to him that reminds me of season 1 of The Mandalorian, but is something that Steve wouldn't have done, which is he turns around and goes, "You made a big mistake," and they kick him right off the thing. So he either let his guard down, or he's not a good combatant as one they portray him to be, and two as Steve was. So basically, we have a false Captain America, and it's basically proven at that point. But then we get back to Sam and Bucky walking, and they're talking. And again, it's a lot of the times when they're talking, it's like just odd couple humor. But as they're walking and talking, uh, John pulls up in one of the trucks, and I think um, I think it's Joaquin Torres pulls up driving. I don't know if it is him, but it looked like it was him, but they never did like a close enough shot. But yeah, he was driving. It was revealed that they were tracking him through Red Wing. Because I did originally, when I first saw John show, I was like, that's very convenient how he showed up like that. Maybe they are working with the Flag Smashers as like a fake sort of thing. But no, they explain it that it's Red Wing and everything, which Red Wing's gone, so they can't really track Sam as of right now unless he gets a new one. Which, what I find interesting about them saying it's government property is that I thought Tony built Red Wing. But I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But yeah, because it doesn't show up till Civil War. And maybe because Sam got his wings taken away. They do say that in Civil War. So ignore what I was saying right there. But yeah, we have like a whole talk between the four of them, and like this is where the other thing comes up, where I think they do a lot of propaganda with John, and he's really more there to be a symbol than to be an actual hero like Steve was. Is Bucky even brings up, did you ever jump on top of a grenade? And he goes, oh yeah, I used my helmet. It's like got this like alloy that like make sure I don't get hurt, which calls back to Captain America the First Avenger, which is when Steve jumped on no armor, no shield, no special helmet, just his shirt and his body on top of a dummy grenade, thinking it was a live grenade. That was Steve's sacrifice, getting ready to basically sacrifice himself to make sure everybody else was fine. And again, that was him with no powers, nothing like that. And then you have John like, oh yeah, I got this helmet that like is basically blast resistant. I could put like right over that and everybody be fine. That's not the spirit of what Steve stood for, which they keep reiterating with John. Is he's very much so just using like basically using Captain America as a privilege and not doing it the right way that Steve would have wanted, which we just had Spider-Gwen fall. That happens from time to time. Sorry. But yeah, that's something that like Steve would never have done, which then we are brought to the next scene, which brings the revelation that there was a black Captain America, basically, for lack of a better term, because they kind of use that in the show in a sense. But there was another Captain America that they had in the 70s. They're kind of alluding to that it was, or in the 50s, I'm sorry, Korean War. They kind of alluded to him being Captain America. They never explicitly said that. They said a super soldier, but it was Captain America. Obviously, because in the comics, it was Captain America. He was Captain America. His name was Isaiah. And basically, they kind of just did it to kind of show Sam that there were Captain Americas, even though he said, well, there's last episode how he said, well, there's been 70 years without Steve in between him going under and everything. They did try to make a Captain America back then and did what sounds like they didn't really show it, but show don't tell. They put him through some terrible things and everything like that. And he actually did end up fighting Bucky and beating Bucky, which is something that sounds like it was rare in those 70 years. Then after that, we had like basically a scene of the cops showing up and they were about to arrest Sam because he was screaming at Bucky. And then they realized that he's Falcon, but then they also realized that Bucky missed his therapy appointment, so they arrested him, which brings up to the next point of something that I do feel like Steve would have done, but in a different way, which was John used him as being Captain America to basically get Bucky out. which I do feel like, yeah, Steve would basically do anything for Bucky, as we've seen in Winter Soldier and, excuse me, Civil War. But he did it in a very non-Steve way, which I don't know how to explain. It's like it didn't feel right. And then right after he got him out, he said, well, we need him for something. He went to the therapist and said, we need him for something. So get done. And then I need to see him right away, which, again, wouldn't be a Steve thing. Even if it was just some random person, I don't feel like Steve would be like, oh, yeah, no, we just needed him. So that's why I got him out of jail. So yeah, that was the next. Then we get the other big trailer scene. A lot of trailer scenes were for this episode, it felt like, which was Bucky and Sam's therapy session, which was pretty full of humor up until Bucky finally brought up why he can't stand Sam, or not, why Sam angers him, I should say. And it brought up a very emotional point for Bucky's like psychology, which is that like he's thinking because Sam would have possibly been the wrong choice because he gave up that shield, that Steve made the mistake of trying to save Bucky, which is kind of heartbreaking when you think about it, that's his thought process, is that he's sad about that. The next part after that is they talk to John. And I think actually this is when it happens too. So before they talk to John, it shows up with the Flag Smashers again, kind of getting like a little base of operations. And we see that one of them is a tech genius that he's able to scrub their data off of the entire internet. And we also see that text that I was talking about, that power broker sends, saying that they stole whatever, which again I think is the super soldier serum, and that that he's going to come after and kill him. And then we get that meeting between John and Sam and Bucky, and they kind of bring up what I think was probably the Sokovia Accords, in all honesty, which was that John was wanting them to work together and everything, and then Sam brings up, we're free agents, you have all this paperwork and blah, 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 blah. It's better for us not to work together, which I think was bringing up the Sokovia Accords, in my opinion. Because Sam and Bucky never signed the Sokovia Accords, while John probably had to, because they wanted a compliant Captain America. Now, Steve never did. So it's obvious that, again, it's another thing that Steve would never have done that John did, which was signing the Sokovia Accords. After that, we are treated to another Flag Smasher scene where one of them sacrifices themselves to get away from the power broker, which we still haven't seen who the power broker is. And we know from the comics that's who gave the Flag Smasher and several other people their powers, including John Walker. So John might not have powers now, but by the end of the show, he might, and that's what might make him like the crazy, insane person. But I also think that if that happens, that people are going to compare him to Nuke in Jessica Jones, which I could kind of see, like the comparison of like kind of have this soldier slash Nuke was a police officer, but soldier and given powers that he probably shouldn't have deserved, and then he just goes crazy from it. But yeah, we see the power broker and everything, and then it cuts over back to Sam and Bucky talking, and they discuss what their next move is, which is talking to Zemo. Zemo is still in prison. I'm going to say this. I have a feeling that Bucky is still not like completely free of his programming, and Zemo is going to use that to have Bucky break him out of prison. And that's where we'll get Zemo as a major villain in this. But yeah, so that's the end of the episode. That is the end of this review. We don't have people on here, it looks like. So leave a comment down below talking about what you thought of the new episode. Make sure you leave a like, you comment, like I said, and subscribe. And also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's that nerd Ryan. So make sure you guys go and do that. And have